Greetings everybody, my name is Tommy the Game Master and welcome to my channel. It's been a while since I've played through an RPG and it's time to look at the story in Hyperdimensional Neptunia Rebirth number 1. Okay, so let's start off talking about fans and fanboys because that's what this game really is about when it comes to its story, and it does a lot of parody off of these things. A lot like the anime community, which has its anime fans, which I am one. It's more hardcore fans who call themselves otakus, although I really do hate that word. And then you also have the crazy fanatical ones that annoy even the otakus who have been given the name weeaboos by that community. Like I said, I consider myself an anime fan. I do enjoy watching shows from that genre, collect a few of them. That said, never been into cosplay like other forms of animation, and never attended an anime convention in my life, and I don't plan to anytime soon. For this video, I even had to look up the meaning of Deizu, which there is no real English translation for. I also had to look up what a BL game was for one of the jokes. I won't show that joke here. I don't even know if I was even recording at the time. All I can say is, yowie, did I get an education. The joke was pretty funny though, even if it was really perverted though, once I understood what they were talking about. In gaming, we can have our fans, our hardcore fans, and our, well, fanboys. If you're a fan of the system, it means you prefer one system's games over another. A hardcore fan will sometimes be the one that buys that company's consoles first and will stick with them. If you like Nintendo games, you're going to buy a Wii U before you go buy an Xbox One or a PS4. That said, you're going to be critical of Nintendo whenever they make a mistake. You're not going to try to defend them. You do not worship your game console like a religious artifact. Fanboys, on the other hand, do, and it does get annoying if you're a gamer dealing with these people. They kind of create this whole idea that their game console is some sort of religious artifact and that the company that makes them is some sort of religion, and just dealing with these people online are annoying. And this game just kind of parodies that, as the four consoles that you kind of go through each have a goddess that represents a video game console, and that right there is really funny. The plot of this game revolves around four goddesses fighting something called a console war for the fate of a world called game industry. Each of the lands in this world is named after a console. Wii sounds a lot like the Nintendo Wii. Green box is obviously a nod to the Xbox 360, and Last Station is obviously a nod to the PlayStation 3, and the character designs of the three goddesses representing them all have some characteristics of their console. Whiteheart has the white design and is super small and skinny with the blue hair looking a lot like the blue light that is on the Nintendo Wii. Greenheart has the white and green display that the original Xbox had. As far as her very skimpy outfit, I hear in the original version of the game there was a line that she had to wear that skimpy outfit or else risk overheating. A not too subtle jab at the red ring of death and overheating problems on the original Xbox 360. I mean, who hasn't had their Xbox 360 overheat if you own the original models? Mine did once, and I had a brother who owned an original model who overheated twice. The console was just nefarious about overheating and then crapping out. Finally, Blackheart here is obviously the PS3. She likes to wear black, and having the white hair is similar to the white letters that are on the original PlayStation 3 model. As far as Purple Heart goes, well, she's the defeated goddess, and she's actually based on the Sega consoles. Not necessarily in design, but the country she guards is called Planitude, with all the areas around it being named off Sega games like Fantasy Zone and Virtua Forest. Also, the fact that the other goddesses force her out at the beginning of the game is similar to the fact that Sega is no longer in the console business. They could have had more fun with this idea if they had made Purple Heart's new boss a pachinko machine, because Sega is now just part of a large pachinko outfit called Sammy. Man, how the mighty have fallen. Now, I won't go too much into the basic plot. Basically, after Purple Heart falls, a young but incompetent nurse named Kampa finds the eccentric amnesiac Neptune sticking out of the ground and decides to help her. Neptune had a dream while she was out that a person named Histoire has the key in getting her memory back and must be awoken in order to stop the evil R4. Short time later, they also run into a young woman named IF, and the three go out looking for the keys that are going to be needed in order to unlock Histoire, and also having to deal with the other goddesses and their problems. Plot-wise, this is really a cookie-cutter fare when it comes to video game storytelling. Beat up evil villain and collect stuff. But the plot isn't where it's going to be, but rather the parody and humor. Much like the Tales games, you're not going to be playing this because there's an epic plot, but because the characters are funny and fairly unique, and the fact that it's a cookie-cutter plot is definitely talked about in this game, because Neptune, much like Deadpool, has no respect for the fourth wall. So let's move on with the characters and just how they interact. We'll start with the four goddesses. Our main character is, of course, Neptune. As I've already stated, she's based off a Sega console. You can tell that by the areas around her. And she also loves to break the fourth wall. And I mean, it's a constant fourth wall breaking as she references Pokemon and Dragon Quest all the time. One of her best jokes has to do with the ending, because the final boss starts off as a super weak, human-like villain, but becomes a super strong dragon by the end of it. And if you think this isn't a subtle nod to Dragon Quest, think again, because Neptune states that she thought the villain would offer her half the world when she transformed into that dragon, which is a direct reference to the original Dragon Quest. Unfortunately, like Deadpool though, she doesn't have much of a character outside of being a dimwit and having her fourth wall jokes. She does have a little bit of personality, but not much. The next goddess on this list is Noir, and she represents the PlayStation, not only in her black design with white hair and her transformation mode, but also the fact that the rest of the characters think she's hard-headed and that she doesn't have many friends. Why would this be a good representation of Sony? Well, maybe not Sony in the PS4 nowadays, but if you go back 10 years ago to the launch of the PS3, this is actually pretty good satire on the Sony brand. You see, 10 years ago, back when the PlayStation 3 launched, they got really arrogant and hard-headed, despite everybody and their brother warning them that their console was too pricey and their marketing too arrogant. They didn't listen and went ahead with the plans of the PS3 anyways. What happened? Well, Sony went from having the most popular console of all time with the PS2 to being a distant third in the console race, and then had to scrape back a many mea culpas and win back audiences and critics over the next couple of years. Noir's unsureness next to her hard-headedness makes her a perfect version of Sony during the PS3 lifespan. She doesn't do the fourth wall jokes as often as Neptune does, and quite frankly, she's one of my least favorable characters in this game, but it's still a pretty good satire on the PS3 here. Her land has an industrial look that comes from games like Grand Theft Auto and the Jak and Daxter series. What can I say about Vert? She's basically a Japanese stereotype of an American otaku. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and breasts so big that it makes me wonder how she can even breathe, nonetheless stand up and walk. That said, like Microsoft, who tried hard to fit in Japan and win that market during the 360, Vert is an introvert who is trying to get everybody to like her. Her humor kind of goes around. She's very fond of IF, and she tries to get along with everybody despite some of the fights they get into. I should also mention that some of her humor goes around the part that she is just a little bit of a pervert as well. Overall, she can be funny on moments, but she's not my favorite character either. Finally, the last goddess, Blanche. Her character design is based on the Nintendo Wii, and she is very much like Nintendo when it comes to her character. She's the quiet one until provoked, and she has no problem beating the stuffing out of the people once she does get mad. And this is actually a really good play on Nintendo, the company, as they are usually quiet, like their secrets, and have no problem putting the hammer down when things go wrong. They also add in jokes that she's a terrible writer when it comes to her fan fiction stories, which is also kind of true, as most Nintendo games kind of have crappy stories. I mean, most Mario games are pretty much rescue the princess from Bowser. I like how her Snowland has a bit of a Russian look of it. And to top it off, we also have mushroom towers on these kind of Russian-looking palaces to kind of symbolize Super Mario Brothers. The other characters are mainly the dim-witted but kind-hearted Kampa and the over-serious IF, which is kind of the straight man to Neptune. They're okay characters, but there's not much to them, which is the main problem of this game and with its moe, and I'll be getting to that now. Again, let me repeat before I really start tearing the game a new one with the bad parts about its moe. I'll start by saying the plot is simple, but the character and jokes are there, and I found myself laughing a lot with the stupid harebrained theme of the story. But what I didn't like is the constant moe fan service, and it's constantly being shown, and you're constantly being hit over the head with it. Yeah, I like boobs just like the next straight guy, but it gets a little creepy when the characters look this young. But I guess I should explain what moe is, even though it's kind of hard to define. If you know what it is, you either like it a lot or you think it's the worst thing the anime industry ever produced, and I am in the latter camp. So what is it? Well, it basically means cute girl. As you can see here, the cast is pretty much all female, and they all have shapes of that of teenage girls, and they all fall into a certain type. You have the Lolita type with Neptune, you have the overly busty type with Vert, and throw in the oversized cutesy eyes, and well, there you have it, that's moe. The idea here isn't necessarily to turn on people in a sexual way. Moe isn't meant to be hentai, but rather to get a sense of some sort of actual affection toward these characters. In other words, they want you to have crushes with these characters like you would have on a girlfriend and not a sexual partner. Now again, having some of these traits in an anime or a character isn't a bad thing. However, with most moe, it's always on hyperdrive and extreme overdose to the point that unless you really like it, it gets really old, really fast, and by the end, I was just kind of sick of it. And if you think this whole virtual characters trying to get you to have affection for them in a real way isn't a bad thing, well, the cultural moe has critics both inside and outside of Japan. Like I said in my Azure Striker Gunvolt review, that whole game storyline is against this idea of fondness for synthetic people and relationships that seems to be going on in Japanese culture, and moe is just one of those many nasty side effects. Was moe enough to keep me from enjoying this game's story? Not really, but it did put a huge damper on it, which is such a shame. The humor and the fourth wall jokes are good, but we didn't need that amount of boob though.
Gotta catch 'em all!
Oh, come on, do you have to ruin Pokemon for me too? I should mention one more bad thing about moe, and that is the fact that it does kill character development. The characters have got to stay in their little boxes in order to keep up with the trend. For example, the Tsunandre character has got to stay the Tsunandre character. The Lolita character has got to stay the Lolita character. They can't really grow or bond. Yes, they become friends for the sake of the story, but that's about it. You don't really feel any connection to them or their characters outside of that superficial one that they keep trying to cram down your throat. And that is why I think a lot of older anime fans really hate this trend that's going on in anime. Not only is it creepy, but it keeps the stories from being as good as they were in the past. Anyways, do I hate the story? No, I find it funny, cute, and charming most of the time, but the moe stuff really does creep me out and kind of nauseates me a bit. It keeps it from being as good as it could be. It's certainly not as good as most of the Tales game is, although it does have the humor that Zestiria was lacking. If you really want to buy this game, like I said in my actual review, put it on your wish list and wait for a Steam sale. But I'll warn you, if you have a low tolerance for moe, do not get this game. Will I be picking up another one from the series? Maybe, again, if the price is right, and if I don't have any other RPGs that are better that I want to get into, I might see myself putting it in. I did find myself laughing a lot at the jokes, but the moe is definitely a turnoff. This is Tommy the Game Master signing out, but before you do, I would like you to subscribe to my channel. I do reviews, I do story analysis like this all the time on this channel, and I would love to have you as a member of my community.